well, definitely not being on roids ever, you know? Everybody asks Guru when you're streaming, but nobody ever asks Guru how you're feeling. True. I'm doing good, though. I had a low few weeks, but I'm doing good now. Impression of pie for hog tying. I just need to understand, something everyone needs to understand is happiness isn't an emotion that you should have. You know? The only happiness is a lack of sadness and pressure. There is no happiness. And it's not something you're entitled to or that you should have. You shouldn't feel happy in life. There's no such thing as feeling happy. There's just relief of not being sad and not being stressed. That's what it is. And you may confuse that for happiness, but in reality, it's just a lack of permanent sadness, basically. It's like a break from permanent sadness, if you know what I'm saying. So I just sort of like rewire my brain every now and again and be like, you know what? I'm doing all right. Will you be doing fighter interviews on the Mighty collab? It could be a humorous good cop, bad cop dynamic. It could be, yes. I think we will. I don't know who, but I'm assuming it would be like a big guest only type of thing. But if like Holland were to come on one of the shows, you know what I'm saying? That would be a moment. What's up, Guru? Got a lot to say, don't you, bud? Yes, hello. It'd just be like an awkward moment. And then DJ's laughing about it, you know? That'd be a crazy scene if Holland popped on the show or like someone who I'd have beef with popped on the show. I tell you, Holland, you got 45, 70 seconds before I kick you off the stream. Happiness is peace. It is, yeah. I just think happiness is a lack of stress and sadness, I think. Top 5 GOAT, please. Thank you very much for the $2 Canadian. Top 5 GOAT, please. I don't know in what order yet, but I'd say like in the top 5, there is a GSP, a Demetrius Johnson, a Makachev, a Volkanovski is like just getting in there. And who I got one more space? I don't know who would be the last one. You can be content. That's the aim. Marab, if Marab beats O'Malley, he's way up there. Thank you for the 3 Australian dollars. You can be content. That's the aim. Yeah, just being content is the aim, you know. World of T-Shorts impression. Mr. Beast! I can't remember what other moments were from that. What was the other quotes from that one? Didn't he die in a helicopter crash? Do you know LeBron? You've seen LeBron. LeBron playing the basketball? Didn't... Cookie King Benjamin. No, I don't know who this is. I don't know what it is. Thank you for the 2. Did Kanye actually say... No. Thoughts on Buckley versus MVP? I would go Buckley out wrestling him and beating the shit out of him on the ground. I would. I think Buckley would crash in. He could get flying kneed. He could get caught coming in for sure. But I would say that Buckley would mix it up and beat the piss out of him on the ground. I really think Buckley's more well-rounded than people give him credit for in terms of what he's willing to do to get the win. Like, Buckley's a fighter who wants to be a world champion, you know? Which is weird that you have to separate them from each other. And it's weird that that is even a distinguishable quality. But he actually is just a, you know... He wants to be a fucking world champ. It's not about being fun to him. Even though he's a fun fighter, it's like, he's going to get the fucking win, you know? Why don't you rebrand the beanie to a do-rag? Thank you for the £2. Rebrand the beanie to a do-rag. I'm not going to get all yo-yo. I'm not going to become Mr. Yo on this. Let me tell you something, Mr. Yo. That'll be the day. That'll be the day. What, man? Slow down. Oh, dude, Merle is one of the funniest characters, dude. That'll be the day. Man, you got something you want to tell me? The day I take orders from it. He just beats the shit out of him. That was actually a crazy opening thing for Mel. Thank you for the 2. I love Tom, but I feel DDP is the best champion in the UFC. Great promos, great fights, takes the toughest matchups. It feels he passed Tom in aura this year due to his higher activity. Thank you for the $10. Yeah, but his activity isn't something to be said as like a pro thing of DDP. But yes, I do agree. Yeah. In terms of like the most... Well, Tom was never in the conversation of the best champion in the UFC in terms of how they're handling their career. So I disagree. Tom was never in that conversation because he's not been the champion. You know what I mean? He's had an interim belt defense and that's it. DDP is next up and comer. No problem. Take him on. Marab's being similar right now. So Marab's in that mix. Makashev's being a bit prissy and pretentious about it. I hope JDM will go down that road. It's normally the fighters that just don't have the leverage to even counteract anything the UFC wants. So they're kind of like forced to be good champs, if you know what I'm saying. Have you ever watched Anatoly Humbling Gym Junkies? Oh, can I clean? Hey, Guru, I was rewatching your Gamrot reaction while working and almost crashed when you yelled the first time. Then you just kept yelling and I had to stop because you're talking way quieter. All right, shut up, man. But yes, correct. You know what? The Gamrot Ludovic Klein fight, Gamrot actually entertained quite a bit in that fight, you know. He did. Like, he has a very dull first round unless he gets hurt. But Gamrot in the second, towards the end of the second and then the third round, he actually did put it on Ludovic Klein quite a bit. On the feet, especially in the third round. Did we watch the same fight? Yeah, apparently not. In the third round, chat, Gamrot was fucking piecing him up and, like, cracking him on the feet and making him miss and, like, beating the shit out of him on the ground. Like, he was going for a TKO finish at the end of the third. 2 minutes of fun in 15 minutes is not fun. It wasn't 2 minutes of fun. It was more like... The whole third round was quite fun, I thought. You know, you said Gamrot had a broken hand against Dariush. I have reasons. If you would watch it back with the bits that I saw. I don't remember what part of it was, but I did think he broke his hand. Gamrot's always fun, though. Even that RDA had a good first round. Yeah, but the thing is about Gamrot's fights is that the fun is dependent on what his opponent can bring to the table. You know what I mean? Which isn't a good look for him in terms of how fun he is as a fighter. Because if Gamrot had his own way, it would just be a 3-round grappling match. But, you know, in the third, I thought he had a good third round. He looks at his hand after throwing. He does. And he never said that he broke his hand against Dariush. But he had Dariush against the cage with a body lock around his back. And he threw a punch and landed with his thumb on, like, the top of Dariush's head. And he, like, shakes his hand and looks at it afterwards. And, like, doesn't throw a punch from that side for the rest of the fight. So, I think he broke his hand against Dariush in the first round. But he's never said that. And to be fair, Gamrot's never made excuses for losses. So, he's disagreed with decisions before. But he's never made excuses for losses. So, fair play. You think Amanda comes out of retirement if Kayla wins? That's the plan, isn't it? That's the plan. That they're going to do her versus Kayla. And they'll probably pay her $1 million to do it as well, even though it's not worth that at all. Are you flexible enough to head kick Rogan? Yes. I can head kick Maya Hyatt. Like, I'm actually quite flexible with that. With some stretches, for sure. Dariush dropped him bad in round 3. He did, yeah. He fucking crumpled him. Which is another part. I don't know why we're talking about Gamrot so much here, but it's another part of why I think Gamrot's so underrated. Because I always think he's chinny, but he's been cracked by, like, really KO shots a lot in his career, and he always pops back up into the fight. Like, his chin maybe isn't the best, but his recovery is insanely fast. You know? Every time you see Gamrot get knocked down, his jaw gets fucking spanned by someone. You know? Like, absolutely span. Dariush lands a shot, his whole chin goes, like, spins, like that. You know? Even against Jalen Turner, he got cracked in the first round with a shot and went, and sort of slumped, and then, boom, straight in on the takedown. And then, what was it, against Arman? He got hit with a spinning back fist right on the tip of his chin. And down he goes. Ate some good shots from Hooker. Yeah, but they were understandable as to how he didn't get KO'd by them, you know? Even though he got like hit around the guard and stuff like that. Helicopter. Hooker got cracked as well. He did. Eat your bogeys for the stream, man. No, I'm not eating them. Just picking them. The shot that Dariush landed against Gamrot is the loudest strike I've heard in MMA. There's been others that are really loud, but that was up there, yeah. For a punch on the chin, that was very loud. I agree with that, maybe. For a punch on the chin. But we've heard loud kicks, you know? Like body kicks. Some of the... You know when Fiziev was landing those body kicks on Mark Jakasia? I have no idea how Fiziev doesn't finish these opponents. But he was landing some of the nastiest sounding body kicks. Turner's head kick on Dan Hooker. It was loud, but yeah, there's been others. I think Oban's head kick against Trayshawn Gore. Or not Trayshawn Gore. Oban's head kick against Val Woodburn was louder than Jalen Turner's against Dan Hooker. Gutierrez punches on that fat Mexican. Yeah, they were loud. Knee to the face is very loud. True. Even, yeah, and that's crazy because O'Malley landed that knee to the face on Vera in a crowded arena and you still heard it. All of these things that we're mentioning are all in the Apex, right? But we heard that in the fucking crowded arena of a title fight. How much money for you to make a jiu-jitsu instructional without a shirt with John Jones? No, I'm good. Well, well, well. Look who's been living his best life. What's up, brother? I'm living my best life. I'm doing it. Thank you for the 5. Parlay over the course of the podcast. 3, people forget, man. It's true. 3, get out of there. 1, mahogany until Rogan catches on. Doesn't count if Jamie calls you out. True, it doesn't count. Yeah, Jamie can rumble me there. You kind of do look like Daniel Larson. What fat ginger is this? Okay. No one will ever accept this chat. And this is where I get a bit delusional. I am a fat Ryan Gosling. And I'm just going to put it out there. Although it is a crazy thing to say, I see it sometimes in pictures. I am a fat Ryan Gosling in some ways. If I didn't have the beard. I swear to God. I know everyone's going to laugh about that. But if you see it, you notice it a little bit sometimes. Yeah, it's a weird one. Ryan Hogling, exactly, yeah. Ryan Gosling, you meant... Oh, no, I do see it sometimes. Not on this camera, but in person sometimes. Chat, look at my picture with Dricus Duplessis and tell me it's not Ryan Hogling. You know what I'm saying? Look at a picture of me with DDP. It's similar-ish, you know? I see it anyway, just a tad. I can see DJ saying, I got a surprise guest for you, Guru, and it's Izzy and his dog. Oh, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. I don't know if DJ's going to just, like, put me in the shit by bringing guests on, but yeah. Impression of Volk noticing something about Macy. Hang on a minute. Oh, I love her. She's natural beauty, you know? Hang on a minute. I can see Jones, money shots. All right, John, knock it off. Yeah, money shots coming. All right, John, knock it off. Thank you for the 2. Ryan Gosling on Mountain Dew, true. Clip farming? No, not true. I do think it's similar. Who's the other famous person that I kind of look like as well? There's a drummer that I look like, and I can't remember who it is. Who's the drummer that I look like? Something Bonham. It's not John Bonham, but that's the one that I went for. There's a drummer in a band that people say I kind of look like. Michael Bublé I do look like without the beard. That's true. I used to get that a lot when I was a kid. When I was a kid and had no beard. John Bonham. Is it John Bonham? I looked it up and I don't think it is him. No, it's not. It's not John Bonham. There's a guy that I do look like, though. It's Giant Haystacks. He was a WWE wrestler. Giant Haystacks is some people give me Giant Haystacks. There's a picture of him with this like woolly coat on that makes him look like that way. John Bonham got fatter towards the end. Maybe that version of him I look a bit more like. But it's I used to get, when I was like a teenager and I didn't have a beard, I used to get Michael Bublé quite a lot. Which I take. I think I'm better looking than him, but it's all good. Fat Elvis. All right. You like Steve Buscemi. No. Ryan Hogling with a little bit of downs. Thanks, man. Thank you for the 2. The ego's gone too far. I'm just joking around. What should the Sanders main event look like? I don't know. Do what you want, man. Don't even know what you're saying. Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson probably beats him. KO. I was writing something and try and like bait shots out of him and counter and stuff like that probably. So I'd be walking in like Mauricio Huffy maybe actually, probably. But not nowhere near his level. But it'd be similar archetype. Gotta go Kyson Hats live. Okay. No chance you'd be Tybura. No, I wouldn't be Tybura. Shut up. Time to make a Jones fraud video. Most of his fights were against undersized old men, and whenever he faced someone his size besides Smith, it was a bad performance. If he does retire, yes or no, chat, I do a legacy in review of John Jones. Just how good was John Jones, really? You know? Like, and I take everything into account, and I do give him his props maybe here and there, but I'm going to be real about some of the opponents, and because I honestly think this, chat, yes or no, John Jones is the greatest light heavyweight of all time. You can't deny it. But this is another take, yes or no. John Jones was the first light heavyweight of all time. I swear to God. He was the first light heavyweight of all time. He was the first guy with a light heavyweight build and frame in the light heavyweight division. And at that time, they were all about 5'11", 6 foot tall at most. Some of them would be a little bit taller, but he was like the first light heavyweight framed fighter. You know? Like if Shogun Rua was in the UFC today, he would be... Like if Shogun Rua walked into a gym as a young man today and they could mold him into some division, he's a welterweight. I swear to God they would try and get him to make welterweight. You know? Other than Rampage. Rampage's weight is in his giant head though. But I know what you mean. But Rampage is like 6 foot tall. But I think if Shogun Rua showed up in an MMA gym today as a young man with his build, they'd say, yeah, you're a welterweight. You know? You're going to lose some of this flab, tone up, and get you down to 170. Or maybe a smaller 185, and maybe I could see him... Yeah, maybe a small 185, like Bo Nickel, yeah. Similar. Holloway Volker twice as elusive as Oliveira. He's getting finished so early. I think so. But they're not as dangerous as Oliveira in terms of finishing potential, so... Ilya's got to watch his P's and Q's as well. And Ilya is susceptible in round 1. Yes or no, chat? That's a hot take about Ilya. Against good comp, Ilya's first round is actually quite bad. So, it is a tricky matchup. No donations in the members.